manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy.
So many pieces make up the whole production, which is evident in TV and film. Now, the stunts pack a powerful punch and bring purpose to the action and acrobatics with a life of its own. This is a Captain's Log. I'm Bryan Kreutz, the ambassador of the fans, and she's Lili Fox-Lim, Star Trek's finest mind.
And mind-melding stories and memories alongside with us in person today are three stunt heroes into our fold. With arms, legs, and minds set on making one-of-a-kind scenes gold, these brave stunt people have worked for hundreds of hours on several Paramount soundstages, stunt doubling and dazzling as Klingons, Cardassians, Romulans, Borg, Jem'Hadar, human Starfleet officers, Bajoran, Trill, and many more aliens. Welcome back, Tom Morga, Suzanne Rampe, and Chris Doyle.
Yes. So happy that you three are here giving us your perspectives in this two-part episode, a special episode set here in Los Angeles, of course. Now, we're going to intertwine shared stunt stories and scenes that you did together, or maybe sometimes on the same set. But after this week's break, we're going to ask each of you three individual questions to start, and maybe even do a little stunt or a little Bat'leth moment.
Yes, Tom, Suzanne, Chris, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll have more in store with stunts galore.
So, hey, guys, welcome back.
Well, number one was fun to do, and I think we're going to have fun this time, too.
Yes.
It should be fun.
All right, Chris Doyle has been everywhere in film and TV in Hollywood, appearing specifically in so many episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and I believe Enterprise as well.
Tom Morga has appeared in the most Star Trek productions ever in the long history of Star Trek, and Suzanne has spent her career performing incredible stunts, bringing high-intensity moments to life on screen.
You three have worked on episodes together for Star Trek. Tom and Chris, I remember specifically the Star Trek Voyager episode called Killing Game Part 1. You both played Klingons, but that's not the first time. Probably wasn't the last time. How many times do you think you played Klingons each? Also, how many times have you battled each other for stunts as Klingons? Feel free to name drop some actors that you doubled for.
Oh my goodness. In tall order.
Didn't put us on the spot, did he? I didn't count them. Did you?
I didn't say a word. It's somewhere I heard something about hundreds. I don't know if it's hundreds, but it sure feels like it. Mm-hmm. And Tom and I fought each other a lot as Klingons, besides other creatures. But since we're talking about Klingons, many, many times. Matter of fact, Tom had to show me how to use the Bat'leth so I could kill him. So he's been my mentor. I had to, but it was in the script. I had to do it.
You get paid to die. Yeah.
I get paid to die. Absolutely. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, and I can't count the number of times. It's hard to say. I just know that it takes a long time to get in the makeup, and that wardrobe takes a long time to put on. And then they want you to fight, and it's really restrictive. I think you mentioned that before. It's sometimes with different kinds of makeup. Of course, it's a little hard to see. You lose a little bit of your peripheral vision. Mm-hmm. But if you practice the coordination and the fight you're doing and knew all the choreography, then you can manage to do it. But you got to be a little careful.
Yeah, you can crack your knuckles and other things. But working with Tom, such a professional. He never hit me once.
And you never killed me.
Well, that's just it. We made a habit of killing each other. Don't say that too loud outside the studio. Somebody knock on your door. Who did you kill this time? I didn't kill nobody. I swear.
Hey, maybe that's why we led in with the episode titled The Killing Game for Voyager. So.
It's all a game until somebody gets hurt.
Suzanne, you stunt doubled Terry Farrell's Dak's character a lot. You worked with Tom Morga on the episode The Sword of Khaless. What memories do you have from that experience?
There was, in that set and everything, it was very close quarters, and we were having a lot of people fighting. So you really had to make sure that when you were swinging whatever instrument, whatever piece of equipment you were working with at the time, Bat'leth, whatever it may be, not to hit someone behind you with it, and make sure that you were really precise. The choreography was really, really put together very well. So that was really important because that was a lot of the things that we needed to do was make it look very real, make sure we kept everybody safe and work together.
I think that Dennis Madeline, the coordinator, of course, he'd always bring up the idea, okay, we need stun energy. And that's when you start to ramp it up.
Yeah.
But you're still within the bounds of what you're supposed to do, and you don't hit the other person. And when we do fencing with swords, there's some moves we do that are protective against someone else. So you never bring a sword up across somebody. You drop it down and bring it over here because you don't want to cross their eyes. So there's certain moves we use on stage fighting that really wouldn't work in real life, but we need them for safety.
Yeah, it works really good. It's like these westerns and cop shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't point, even though it's blank stuff, and you're shooting at somebody, you're not really pointing at them.
Mm-hmm.
You're pointing off to one side or the other, even though they're far away and it's blank. Just because. It's just a safety thing, you know.
Well, we're measuring too. Like if I'm going to
Yeah.
come over here, I'm grabbing him because I know now the distance. So when I swing, I'm not going to be hitting him because I've got my distance too.
That makes sense.
Which is a lot of reasons why when we're doubling somebody or we're playing a part, we're fighting one of the actors, and the actor has a double, and the actor I'm doubling the actor that I'm doubling has a double. That's me, right? Yeah. So anyway, so I'm doubling somebody, Tom's doubling somebody. And the actors fight. The wide shots, Tom and I fighting each other. Then they cut to over me punching the actor, and vice versa. So we don't have actors unless they're extremely well. And there's a few that can do this, but just for safety reasons, we don't want the actor throwing punches at another actor. So they're throwing them at the stunt person, and the stunt person's throwing it at the actor.
Makes
so
sense.
That again goes in the thing what Tom was saying about the eyes and the safety zone that we have that we put in play to keep everybody safe for the day.
To make it look real, we do close up of the actor, but it's in places in the fight. For instance, if you got a sword and she has a sword and she swings it and I swing it, and she grabs my wrist here. This is my sword, and I grab hers. We got this moment for dialogue, push away, and the stunt people start again.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. You guys do that with the distance and.
A lot of times we're putting these fights together when we know the director, and they usually do, want to use the actors as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we put these fights together with swords or bat'leths or whatever, with these beats in there that you can get in there and cut and put the actors in. And you get them both together. Like they're fighting and then they grab each other and they look at each other really, and then, like, and then he throws them off, and then he throws him out of the frame. Then you see the stunt guy fall into the table, stuff like that.
That's really cool. Your timing and beats are very specific too.
All these beats and stuff.
Boom. I love it. All right. So, Tom, what do you remember from playing this alien named Soto? He's a Lethean, and we have a picture of you and Terry Farrell and Suzanne in it. And you challenge, any challenges of performing these stunts in heavy makeup opposite Suzanne playing Dax for the Klingon?
The first thing I remember about it is the first 5 hours sitting in a chair while they put it all on. It was one of the longest ones because they had the hands to go with it and the face and the whole works. And then I had teeth in there. I had one dialogue line that I'm supposed to take a mind meld, and I grabbed, I forget who it was, one of the, might have been Worf or might have been
Kor.
And I grabbed him and I says, "Open your mind." But the way I actually could say it was, "Open your mind." So I guess that worked for an alien's voice, but it was only because I couldn't speak. So that's what I remember first. But no, the action was really great. Well, for Star Trek, yeah. When we first saw it, you can imagine if you saw this curve thing. I remember Dennis Madeline when he first started, and he came to me and says, "Hey, they got this weapon for Klingons. It's like a banana sword." I don't know what they're doing with it. And Dan Curry invented it.
Yes.
And he had Tai Chi, so he did all this Tai Chi and figured he'd use these kind of motions for this sword, and he had it figured in his mind. And so we just had to start adapting, and we started doing Molyneux and different kinds of things you could do with it, and pretty soon we got some neat stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun to work with because it was so visual too. It was so visual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
And I remember Dan Curry, we did interview him. He talked about things being ergonomically correct and designed. Yeah. So I'm sure that was very designed, precisely.
Once you had it, good, and you can take the Bat'leth. You can take and use the the blades itself to cut somebody, you could turn it over, just knock them out with back end. You know? So it is pretty useful in different ways.
It was a multi-useful tool.
Exactly.
That's cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Suzanne, what was the most physically demanding stunt that you performed on Deep Space Nine or Voyager, and how do you prepare for something like that?
Well, we worked with a lot of people, a lot of effects and different things. We had to rely upon one another because I didn't have anything where it was like a 50-foot high fall, or I did a lot of fire burns, things like that. So I always loved coming into Deep Space Nine and the Voyagers because we would come in and we worked together. It was choreographed. It was a sequence. It was almost like a dance move. Everything was moving and working together. So it wasn't as dangerous. I mean, you could get hurt, you could get cut, you could get bruised, you could get beat up in that way. But it was more of a choreography, and it was really enjoyable to come in and work with people and make that magic together. That's what I really enjoyed.
Chris and Tom, I just rewatched this episode with my son the other day. It's a late, great Deep Space Nine episode on the abandoned Cardassian space station, and the episode is titled Empok Nor. Now, both of you guys are in stasis tubes, you're Cardassians. You end up getting out and murdering 4 yellow shirt Starfleet officers. I believe maybe 3 of them, because one of them got murdered by Garrick. But correct me, thank you. Tom, you stabbed 1 to death. Talk about this experience working together as characters with a lot of screen time.
Well, it was an interesting episode, I thought. The idea of being in a stasis tube as a guard for an abandoned space station, and you would, there would be like an alarm. You'd be woken up, you'd get out, and your job was to guard the station and probably kill anybody who was there. And we did the job fairly well. And it was pretty gruesome. I mean, you didn't just put them out, you killed them well. One of them I stabbed, he fell down in the little door trap he was trying to get in to access session. I stepped on that and crushed his head at the same time. It was just routine for a Cardassian.
It was another day on the starship.
I think we have a couple of pictures of us together.
Yeah.
Just dispatching someone.
And I think that you'll notice that
They're
one
gone.
of them, like we were talking before about the wardrobe, and the boots are always a problem because they're not made for comfort. They're made to look good. And so in between most takes, we take our shoes off and wear our tennis shoes. And I think the picture with me and Chris, one of us still have our tennis shoes on because we're just taking a picture. We're going to go on the set and do the action yet.
Okay, so Suzanne, can you tell us about your first time at Paramount when you were brought in as a stunt double for Martha Hackett playing a Romulan? And how did it feel to step into the world of Star Trek for the first time?
Well, it was a double, because walking in with Paramount and the signs and everything, seeing all of that, and then going on to the set, it was awe-inspiring. It was amazing. And then being able to portray and work with her and being a Romulan, a very strong female character, and bringing that to life was really great. I really enjoyed it, especially all the makeup and the way that a Romulan looks was quite a treat for that day. It was amazing.
Now, Chris, you have an affinity for Star Trek, the original series, because you've told me before.
Yeah.
You were on vacation when Dennis Madalone, the stunt coordinator, was setting up a great crossover episode. Tom, unfortunately, you had already been in so much screen time. I don't know if you were allowed to be in this one. I think you told me that.
I missed it. Finally used up my face.
Yes, that's it. Now we're talking Deep Space Nine's Trials and Tribulations, which of course is taken from the original Trouble with Tribbles. Chris, tell us the story where you're on vacation and you met Robert Conrad.
So what happened was Dennis told me they were going to do this great episode where they're going to cross between Trouble with Tribbles and this thing. And I said, well, that's an interesting process. I want to do it. When is it? He gives me a date. I go, it's right in the middle of my vacation.
Of course.
I go, but I'm going to only be an hour or so past Bakersfield. So it take me 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get back home. I just come home the day before and I'll go to work and I'll go back to the day. He said, that's fine, just do it. And I said, but have somebody to cover just in case. I'll cover if you're not there. So we went to this lake, had a houseboat, the family, and sure enough, it was time to go, so I got somebody to take me back to the dock. And as I was walking up the dock to go find my car, coming down the gangplank there was Bob Conrad from Wild Wild West. It's like, hey, Bob. Hey, Chris, what's up? I go, houseboat. What are you doing? Houseboat. I go, well, I'm going to work with Dennis. really? Well, tell them I said hello. I mean, I'm, hours and hours away from Los Angeles and Hollywood, and I run into Bob Conrad. So with that memory, going to get on this other show that they're using, and I got to dress up in the original Klingon costume from the OG series. I mean...
Oh, this is original. This is the original. This is original pants. This is original tank top. And these are replicas because this stuff wouldn't last over the 30 years.
What more can I ask? We're space beatniks. No teeth, no forehead, no glue on. It was kind of good.
Klingons were different, yeah.
It was a memorable job for sure.
If we were doing the nowadays fights, we would have Chris would throw a punch and I would block it, and I would use modern hits like a strike to the face, or backhand, or headbutt, or a strike through here, ear, elbows, and a palm shot to the face. What we have to do now is all big Western punches, which is through here. And for that camera, it would be just a big roundhouse. And it'd be these kind of punches.
All right, so Suzanne, in the Voyager 2-part pilot Caretaker, one of my favorite episodes, not because it was the first one of Voyager, but it was really good. You played 2 different stunt double roles, a Kazon named Agla, a woman, and an Ocampa orderly. How did you approach portraying 2 separate characters in the same story for this pilot?
Well, one was just mainly acting, so I was able just to get into the character, do the things that we needed to do in that setting, it was wonderful because I was working with another stunt person, and we were working with the actress, and she was struggling. We had to make sure that we made it look very realistic without hurting her. Then we had to pick her up and put her on the table, and so I know that's why they brought us in, because we wanted to lift her up and just. The number one thing is to keep your actors safe. And that was the main thing for that role. So it was more of an acting piece. The other one, we were doing stunts. Again, we were actually lifting someone up. I don't remember. It was another actor. Do you remember who that was? Were either of you with the Kazons? You weren't there that time.
Not that time.
So again, we were working with an actor doing the same thing. We were lifting him up, hoisting him up above our heads. We had some explosions going off. So it was a completely different feeling. So you could easily switch between the two. And it was out in the desert. It was hot. That's when I had all of that hair going. And if you recall from the first episode, we spoke about the Flexall.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Hey, welcome back to Captain's Log. We're here with the incredible Suzanne Rampe, Tom Morga, and Chris Doyle, who have all brought some of Star Trek's most thrilling action sequences to life.
That's right. We've heard some amazing behind-the-scenes stories already, and for instance, Suzanne's time doubling for Leslie Hope's Kira, her first experience at Paramount, and some of the most physically demanding stunts that she's done for Star Trek.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, we're going to talk about what it was like working with stunt legends like Dennis Madalone, and also Tom Morga, and how stunt work has evolved with CGI and new technology.
So let's dive right back in.
All right, let's talk about Tiger Corps. Tom Morga and Chris Doyle, you played so many Klingons and in Bat'leth fights in a hall with giant statues in the Klingons Hall of Warriors. This was in the Deep Space Nine episode called Apocalypse Rising. What do you remember about this great Deep Space Nine episode, particularly with Gowron and Martok?
Well, we got to fight each other.
Again.
And it was a tricky storyline, something about a changeling that was supposed to be there to create more havoc between the Federation and the Klingons. And so Gowron was accused or thought to have been this changeling. That was really a changeling, and actually nobody knew till almost the end that Martok was the changeling. And so when that was revealed at the very end during our fight, I did something that was very un-Klingon-like. And they also knew, so every phaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the set was really neat. I mean, Star Trek. All the different ones had some really interesting sets. This one was really cool. It's not just all the statues and all that stuff, but the lighting. It really made you feel like you're on a ship or something was some strange place. It was really neat. And then of course working with Tom again, we're doing the Bat'leth thing, and of course I didn't get to see him change because they do that in the editing, but. But I saw him fall down, get shot, fall down though. But so it was great. It was another one of our great Bat'leth fights with me winning this time.
The victor.
He died really.
Of course. He always does.
Well, not always. I remember the time that Dennis has.
Yeah.
I got stabbed with a Worf threw his knife in me. I think we talked about this once before, and for whatever reason, I was going to die slowly that time, so I took a couple of moves and stumbled, and finally from off camera, Dennis says, "For Christ's sake, die!"
You're trying to drag it out as long as you can.
He says, "Cut. Let's do that again. Just fall down, okay?" All right, well, this is my moment. My fans needed it.
I love it. All right, so Suzanne, have you ever worked on a stunt that pushed your limits, that either was physically or mentally demanding, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, yes. It was actually for a commercial. And I had to be on top of an 18-wheeler truck, and there was another 18-wheeler truck next to us. There was another stunt guy on it. We were going 30 miles an hour down this just dusty pit type of road. There were little gullies on either side. We had great drivers. And the thing was, the extra added difficulty is we had to be playing tennis back and forth.
What?
And at first, you start thinking, you can't practice that. There's no way you can practice it. So it's like, just what's going to happen? So I want to think things through. So I'm like, well, what's going to happen when I'm up there? And I'm like, legs are going to get a little shaky because you just can't, I'm human. So I thought about that, and I went back to my USC when I was playing volleyball. And what we would do is sometimes we started doing visual imagery. And so they did a study where you would get about 80% of someone actually shooting basket hoops. And they found out that if you just did the imagery, you would be 80% of someone doing it 100% in live. So I just said, okay, so let's go through it. So I did all of that so that when I got up on top of this 18-wheeler truck, and we're zooming around. I mean, we were really moving. When that started happening, I worked through it. And then by the time it was probably about the fourth hour, we were sprinting back and forth. We got about 27 volleys. It was more like badminton. We couldn't do anything. But that was crazy because there was no way. And we had a helicopter flying around us. So we were not in any way tagged down on top of these 18-wheeler trucks because we figured if something goes wrong, we want to bail. Yeah. Of course, we hit a couple cactus, hit a little ground. That was intense because there was no practicing for it. There was no way you can plan for it. You just had to athletic ability and go do it.
Wow. I can't even imagine a gig like that. Who would even think of anything like that?
I know. So that's why commercials do some weird things sometimes. I've done some very odd commercials before.
You have so many amazing stories for so long. Chris, do you want to chime in here and maybe talk about the first time you played a Borg with makeup and challenges you had working multiple days and long hours? I think one time you told me you were in makeup as a Borg, or it may not have been a Borg, but or the Nausicaan. You were on set for
the Klingon, that one that I was telling you about.
You were on set for hours.
I worked 11 hours. I'm sorry, not 11 hours. 1 hour less than 24.
Wow.
So that's 23 hours.
Oh my gosh.
This guy I mentioned earlier wasn't the same actor, had an acting part, one of our son friends, Nick Dimitri. He worked 26 hours. So he came in 2 hours before I did and left 2 hours after I left. And I left, it was just around almost 24 hours. It was 23 and a half hours.
Wow.
It was crazy. And of course, it was a Friday. Fridays were always the longest on television because you've got time between Monday. Mm-hmm. Since there's a thing called forced call. You have to have 8-10 hours in between your call. They can call you in, but then they have to pay you twice the daily rate or whatever your rate is. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to do that very often. Features sometimes really get stuck. But
Fridays.
So Friday was always, if you worked on Friday, you figured, you tell your loved one, I'll see you tomorrow morning. And you go to work whatever time it was because you worked into the morning and the next morning. So those are usually the big overtime days, which are fine then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. Can I get out in 5 hours? I don't want to work 8 hours anymore. But it's tough.
23 hours, that's insane. And you were in makeup?
Makeup the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What happened to make it?
It takes minimum an hour and a half to 2 hours to get out of any of that makeup.
Right? It's like the same with the Ks. Like when I did the Ks, they had to take everything out. But even if they didn't have to do that, you're in makeup for hours.
And hours and hours. So.
And not only that, the action you do sometimes really a lot of action, so it's taxing there. And then when they have when you're on the set, they'd say, "Okay, ready to roll." I pump in the smoke, and the smoke come rolling in. All right, that looks pretty good. A little more. All right, ready, roll it. And you're breathing smoke, fighting, and then So we had all those challenges.
Yeah, it's challenging. Very much challenging. Yeah.
Cool.
So we love the challenge, didn't we?
Yeah, we did fun challenge.
Yeah, thank you.
Throw it at me, I'll do it.
So Suzanne, what was the most steady Star Trek work or the longest hours that you remember in this? I mean, 23 is...
The longest hours? It's like I said, when I was a Kazon and they put that flex on my hair, that took an extra 2 hours to take out. But just doing everything, that was a very, very long day. And I never counted my hours, but I know that it was up there. And it was always like that, because even with Dax, we would have to put all of that makeup with those little dots and little, I don't know exactly. Was there a name for that? Because I never really heard any type of name for the pattern that she had on her face.
Oh, it was a Michael Westmore invention because he was an amazing.
It was really
as a Trill.
It did take a long time to do that. It wasn't prosthetic, so to speak, but everything was so detailed. So no matter what you were doing or what character you were playing, it wasn't just slap it on and you were ready to go. It was detailed and they took their time. So we did a lot of that. And I mean, that was one fun thing about that show, because we were constantly going into overtime, time and a half, just for makeup, So
because of the makeup.
Yeah.
And even the actors would get a little bit extra because they got close-ups. And a lot of times we get away with a little less perfection because we were doubling. And like when I did Martok, I think I mentioned before that he had his one eye that was closed, so he had this makeup across his eye. Well, they just put makeup on my eyelid so I could fight facing camera, and if I turned around, I could open my eye again, see for a second, come back, close my eye. It helps when you're swinging a weapon.
It is. You got no depth perception. It's just all off. With one eye, it's like,
Yeah.
Like you said, Borgs.
Borg.
Yeah.
So you literally didn't have the eye patch prosthetic? You just closed your eye and they
Well,
painted?
he had a big scar.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do this a number of times. It wasn't always like that, but for the most part, I have that advantage. And I could just close my eyes to put makeup across it.
Wow.
That's crazy.
How do you stay mentally sharp when you're working that kind of... Because stunts are so precise, but then the hours are so long. I feel like that's...
I think Dennis used to say that, if we weren't doing this, we'd probably be in professional sports. And if you think of football, basketball, any of the sports, you're at your peak. I mean, when they call roll and action, you're on, and it just happens. That's something you get used to.
Adrenaline. Adrenaline will get you going
and
too.
you just make it happen.
So it just always seemed like, maybe not specifically Star Trek, but films, you're like the last thing to go. I mean, the only time where the set waited for me was when I do full fire burns. It's like they shut down for me. But often you could be coming off of a big high fall, and it's like 4 in the morning, and they're finally getting to you, and you've been there since 6 p.m.
We've had situations where you get up to your spot and they say, okay, it's you're going to do this big high fall. You go, wait, we're going to have lunch first, so come on down and have some lunch, and then you can go up and do that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty much fire. Usually, if it's a big car crash, turnover, stuff like that, because now production is worried about, because it's it's very expensive to wreck a car, and multi-cameras, which is multi-crews, stuff. So that's usually then they won't wait till the end of the day. Well, can't say they never do, but they will. After they want to make sure they get them out. But fire is because whenever I was coordinating and doing fire, and when I did fire, coordinators were all the same. It's like, at least with me, it was like, well, when you're ready, I go, we'll be ready when we're ready.
We will tell you.
Exactly.
You get the cameras ready. You make sure they're all ready to roll. Everybody's set for us. So you don't say, all right, is camera 1 ready? You got that already. When we come on the set, we own it.
Yeah.
We'll tell you when we're ready to go.
And we're not coming on until you're ready. Because
you light somebody up, it's time to go.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Commander Lili Fox-Lim, this is Captain Chip from the USS Crescendo. Please report to the holodeck with the Ambassador and your 3 special guests for some special weapons training.
Captain Chip, welcome aboard.
Ambassadors, great to see you again as always.
Absolutely. And welcome back to Captain's Log, and welcome aboard as well, Trekkies. We have some Klingon weapons with some awesome stunt choreography and some stunt moves that Tom Morga, Suzanne Rampe, and Chris Doyle are going to demonstrate for us here on our show. Great treat.
Well, this is the legendary Bat'leth, weapon of choice for Klingon, and that is the Kar'takin, which is used by Jem'Hadars. And in our fights, we do lots of different rolling moves. These are moves to the side, and of course, we do.
First, a lightning question. Give us your favorite memory of having worked with your buddy Tom.
That was it.
Yeah, seriously, you took the words right out of my mouth. Memories, new memories, this is the best. Absolutely.
All right. What else do we got? What else can you guys show us with your weapons?
Well, I think that our most fun together was when we were doing the Sword of Khaless.
Yes.
And all the fights, and it was a lot of melee there.
Yeah, we did.
Really
We had
was
a
fun.
lot of stuff
We had
going
some
on.
good memories there. And you and I, when we did Cardassians and we've done Klingons, I don't know, I can pick out any particular one, right?
No, but the fun one was when we both had Bat'leth.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That-
Both Klingons.
Yeah,
We were
they were
doubling and
doing
playing
all kinds of
ourselves and being
moves.
assassins and all that stuff.
Lily, when we were off set, you were talking about wanting to be tripped by one of these amazing Bat'leth moves that Tom showed me. Would you like to be tripped?
If only I knew how to fall.
I don't think we'll do
That's
a
the key.
fall
Yeah,
here,
we don't have
but
any
basically the trip is when
Show us.
you catch their leg.
And then you just,
Yeah, usually you can
Nice.
just use one leg to pick up.
and the legs
then-
come up.
It seems like it's perfect for that. It's just
She did that to me a couple times.
I've had it done a couple times too.
This guy was just a slasher and a stabber and a puncher.
Oh, yeah. Multiple use.
And it had a sharp edge on the top too.
Definitely designed to
But
be a
it's Mr.
brutal
Wiggum.
weapon.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, would you please give us your favorite memory of having worked with Tom?
On Star Trek,
On Star Trek, yes.
because I was thinking 10-speed brown shoe. Yeah, mostly, yeah, because I mean, we played other parts.
Way of the Warriors are really
Way of the Warrior is probably one of the better ones because of the sets and the whole story, that involved in that one. And I was doubling an actor, he was doubling an actor, and we were beating each other up with Bat'leths.
Yeah, and that one I got to
That was
work
a
with
fun one.
Bat'leth too. That was great. That was a great time.
That was really
Yeah,
good.
it's fighting Worf as Dax.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that was the Hall of Justice. No, I want to call it Hall of Justice. It's not called
Great Hall of Warriors.
Hall of Warriors. Yeah, the Hall of Warriors. And that little spot, that was interesting because it wasn't that big, was it?
No.
That platform was maybe 6 feet
Yes.
in diameter. Okay. It was interesting.
Hey, thanks for doing the show with us, guys, this
Oh,
week. It was
so
a
much.
blast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is great.
I hope the folks liked it.
Oh, absolutely.
I know they will.
With all these amazing weapons, with all these amazing stories that you've shared, and we ended in the holodeck, the first time we've ever had this on the show. Yeah. Thanks for being with us
Great,
here on the
thanks for
Captain's
being.
Log. Bye for now, and kapla.
Thank you, happy.